When we think about finance, the first step is that we really want finance to be resilient in the face of a crisis. In other words, we don't want problems emerging in the financial system. We don't want a financial crisis making the situation worse. At the very beginning of the year, we highlighted that one of the driving themes of global finance in 2022 was going to be macro issues. And I think 2022 has been far worse from the standpoint of macro issues than we ever could have imagined. And in fact, I think if we look at it from this point in April of 2022, we can say that the world is truly suffering from the four horsemen of the apocalypse. We have war. We have the Russia-Ukraine war, in addition to many other conflicts around the world. We have pestilence. We have famine. We have natural disasters. All of these impacting literally hundreds of millions of people all across the world. And even though at the moment COVID seems to be getting a bit better in most of the world, the reality is that aspects of famine in particular, as well as financial problems in a range of developing countries, are only likely to worsen across the year. And when we think about finance, and in particular digital finance, it's very important to think about the role that finance plays in the context of these sort of sustainability crises. Each of these different four horsemen of crises are different forms of sustainability crisis. And when we think about finance, the first step is that we really want finance to be resilient in the face of a crisis. In other words, we don't want problems emerging in the financial system. We don't want a financial crisis making the situation worse, whether it is a famine, war, a pandemic, or a natural disaster. So our first stage is to try to build a robust and resilient financial sector. The second aspect, and we've very much seen this with COVID across the world, is we want a financial sector that is able to help in the context of the crisis. And in particular, what we've seen all across the world is that the combination of interoperable electronic payment systems with access to bank accounts, electronic wallets, and/or mobile money systems are tremendously powerful from the standpoint of access to resources and transferring resources to people in the context of a sustainability crisis. And I think as we go forward across this decade and beyond, when unfortunately these sorts of sustainability crises, whether coming from climate or famine or disease or war, are only likely to increase in frequency all across the world. So there is an increasing need to build these systems. But as we think beyond, the next stage is how do we build a financial system that can actually support the transformation of development, a financial system which can actually support broader, balanced, sustainable development, both from the standpoint of seeking to transform our economy in order to reduce the impact of climate change, but also from the standpoint of achieving the wider sustainable development goals. And at the core of this is really information. And in March of 2022, a new international organization, the International Sustainability Standards Board, released its first two draft international standards. One, a set of sustainability disclosure standards. The second, a set of disclosure standards for climate-related disclosures. And from the standpoint of finance, core to finance helping in the context of transformation of our economies and societies in the face of climate and other sustainability challenges is disclosure, is having standardized systems of information which enable investors, governments, and others to take appropriate decisions about which companies, which investments to support, and which work from the standpoint of improving sustainability. And it's also the case that standardization of standards and the building of digital regulatory requirements for reporting to those standards sets the framework for building a digital financial system which can help us channel resources better to achieving sustainability goals and to building resilience in the face of future sustainability crises.